Welcome to the Money Healing Club podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Duncan. I'm a financial therapist and art therapist, and you've come to the softest place to land in personal finance. This podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. For help with your particular situation, please seek help from a licensed professional in mental health, taxes, and finance. Here we talk about all the things we don't usually say when we talk about money. Let's begin.
Where is this coming from? Why am I so afraid to sell? Why am I so worried about I'm going to bother people if I show up online? Like my services, what I do, help people heal generational traumas. They help people with so many things. I'm not bothering people. And I was just like, what is wrong with me?
Everyone, welcome to the Money Healing Club podcast. I have a special guest today. I would love to welcome Lexi onto the pod. How you doing?
I am feeling really good and excited to be here with you, Rachel. Thank you for inviting me. I'm Lexi, and I'm currently living in Austin, Texas, and I just got done living nomadically all around Europe. I lived in a different country every single month for the last 6 months, and it was an incredible journey. I have been taking my work abroad, and I do hypnotherapy virtually. I do coaching, and I also do retreats. And so that is something that is just near and dear to my heart. And I have a background in psychology. That's what I went to school for. And then I actually ended up in real estate, which is a whole other story. I won't get into that right now. But then I had an awakening moment when I was in real estate, and I was told, I heard a voice. I like to think it was like a guide or maybe a guardian angel, but I heard some voice and it said, Lexi, you're meant to help people find the homes within. So that's what led me to do the work that I do now. And I am a traveler by nature, and I'm working on sitting still and just focusing on staying put for now. But yeah, that's a little bit of an intro of me.
And the bit I know of you is that you are a voyager of the inner work. I think you really are.
Absolutely. And hence why my business name is Journey for Joy. Journey for Joy with Lexi.
I love that. I love that. I will link in the show notes, by the way, everyone. That's great. Well, so this topic came up. We were chatting about certain childhood experiences that shape our money beliefs. And you had a really interesting realization. And I was like, oh, can we talk about this in the podcast?
Yeah. So I've been working for myself since 2020. It was actually during the pandemic. I went back to school to learn the modalities that I have now. And it's so interesting because I feel like entrepreneurship is a journey in of itself, an inner journey. And I've learned so much about myself. I've healed a lot. I've worked through so much. I am unrecognizable from the woman I was in 2020. And there's been a lot of ups and downs. And also, I like to view it as more of like a spiral. I've seen this diagram before where you're always going up, but sometimes it feels like you're going backwards. But entrepreneurship's hard. I mean, I don't think that's a limiting belief. I think there's some truth to that.
I think it's a fact.
Yeah. It's rewarding and it's beautiful and it's messy, but it shapes us and it changes us. And all that to say is I found myself a couple weeks ago realizing that I'd hit another low in my business and just my life. I felt a little bit burned out from that nomadic lifestyle. It is glamorized, I will say. Social media makes it look more glamorized, everybody. Traveling every single month with everything you own in your suitcase and your small aging dog is it was a lot. There was just a lot of energy being expelled from me. And so I got back and I found myself kind of at this low and not really wanting to take on clients because I felt like I needed to support myself right now. So I did. I took care of me. And then I noticed, wow, okay, I do not have a boss. I do not have another job. This is how I, support myself in this world. So it is time to start doing something about that and start helping people. But I had some blocks and I was just like, where is this coming from? Why am I so afraid to sell? Why am I so worried about I'm going to bother people if I show up online? Like my services, what I do, help people heal generational traumas. They help people with so many things. I'm not bothering people. And I was just like, what is wrong with me?
Right. That's up here thinking. Right. Like,
Yeah.
I know this. Like, I can have a business and charge for my services, and I see other people do it. Like, there isn't a cognitive block. There's something else
And
that
I
is
was
at
like,
a lower level. Yeah.
deeper. I
Yeah.
was like, what is this? So I know that when you ask a question, if you're ready to receive the answer, you'll receive it.
Mhm.
So that night, as I was drifting off to bed, so heading towards that theta brainwave state, which is a more relaxed place right before you go to sleep, my subconscious mind beautifully revealed an image. And for the work that I do, this is typically shows like the root cause, or it's very important. And so it showed me at the door of some random neighbor. I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I was trying to sell candles.
And this is a real
And
memory that you
this
have,
is
like
a
a lived
real
memory.
memory.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And I was selling candles. And I remember the face of that individual was so frustrated and annoyed that I came to the door, because I guarantee you, and you'll hear this soon, there was a lot of other kids that went to their door in a small town to try to sell them things. And I was like, whoa, oh my gosh. And then I had a couple other memories flash into my mind where I remember looking at myself in the mirror, very young, like 9 years old, and just looking at myself and crying and thinking, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. And what that is I couldn't sell wrapping paper and I couldn't sell popcorn and all these random things that my school was asking us to sell, fundraisers.
Mhm.
This is the topic I brought up.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting that schools create these sales competitions and these fundraisers. Now, I was in Girl Scouts and I get that. That's kind of like a separate little club.
Mhm.
And there's bake sales and things like that. That's great. No, this is using children to create income for a school.
And the door to door, literally the door to door salespeople.
I just had a woman actually come up today before this call. She knocked on the door and she was so sweet. And I was very kind to her. And I was like, I actually don't live here. So like, I can't do the remodeling thing with you, hun. Like, I'm sorry. Like, this isn't my home. But yeah, like going door to door as a young kid and that fear of rejection
Mhm.
and
And not
this
only fear,
anxiety.
but like lived rejection. Like
Yeah.
most people are probably not going to buy. And for a kid to have the equipment to even like do that and understand that, I do think the trend has changed because I have not experienced kids doing that recently. I did maybe about
Mm.
8 or 9 years ago, and maybe there's been like a shift. I would love to hear from our listeners if they're still experiencing this or if their kids are doing like the door-to-door sales. I personally have not seen it on the receiver side, which I think is probably a good thing. I think it's tough. And then, yeah, this added level of not only we're going to send you out, go door to door, strangers' houses, or maybe it's people you know, face certain rejection. And then we're going to put like a leaderboard together.
Yep. So now we're going to create scarcity and competition, and we're going to make you start hating and fighting against the people you're going to school with and creating animosity.
Welcome to capitalism, kids. I mean, it really is grooming for capitalism, isn't it?
And then, yeah, and you're just this young kid. And of course you want that little plastic toy,
Or
that
whatever.
stupid thing, right?
Yeah.
These things that cost them very little. And then so you're fighting with your classmates. You're so worried about becoming top of the leaderboard. You're not focusing on the actual schooling, why you're there, right? You're becoming these little salespeople. Yeah. And there's whole Reddit forums on this. There's people on YouTube. Because I went the next day, I was like, oh my gosh, there's got to be others just like me.
Yeah.
And sure enough.
There's a whole subreddit about it.
Yep.
There's a very funny thing on Instagram that the Scholastic Book Fair did not instill in me a love of reading. It instilled a love of shopping.
Okay. That hits so hard, Rachel.
Right?
I love books. But you know what I love more than reading the books is buying the books and
Buying
collecting
books.
them. Oh my gosh. That's another unlock.
Those are two different hobbies.
Wow. That was one of my favorite things, like the book
Yeah.
catalog and
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
life aha moment.
Perhaps I know, and my kids like, right, they're like, okay, we put some money in their like digital wallet and they feel they have to maximize it and they go and it's like, yeah, little capitalism, consumerism training grounds,
Mm,
It's so tough. Back to that's on the more consumer side, but this other
right.
aspect of the selling side, right? To have these early experiences of selling and probably a real mixed bag of, success and failure. And for that to be a first experience of, selling something for money, and how does that stick with you going on into adulthood in terms of forming core memories, core associations with this act? So it's like, okay, we fast forward and you're in business, you believe in what you do, you're good at what you do. Like, oh, there's this block around ding dong. Would you like to buy some hypnotherapy? Right. What does that mean? Will I win? Am I
It's
winning?
just so interesting. Yeah. And just recognizing too that there's a difference because when I go to somebody as a business owner, I typically am not just going to go to a Walmart and just start shouting like buy my hypnotherapy, right? Like I understand
Right.
ideal client avatar. I understand the people who are ready for this type of work.
Mhm.
And it just kind of brings me back to thinking how you just go door to door and you're selling things that people don't need, right? So there's that consumerism. It's like, come on, just buy some popcorn from this kid. Come on, just
Right.
use your money.
Or also like, aren't they cute? Like, be
Right.
cute, be nice. And then it's this guilt thing. Okay, I'll buy your damn candle
Yes.
to like get you happy and get you off of my porch. It's real yucky layers, right? That doesn't feel completely consensual.
Right. It's like,
Mhm.
then these things might get formed also in adulthood of, oh, I feel guilty if I don't buy from
Yeah.
somebody.
Right. If
Right.
I don't, then I'm going to look greedy or I'm going to look like a jerk.
Or like I'm maybe
Right.
stealing something, or maybe I'm just like, yeah, like if I don't leave buying something, maybe they wonder, or maybe there's
Mhm.
like all these thoughts, all these things. It's like, what if you just weren't happy with what was there and you just don't want to spend your money on that?
It's this like people pleasing that comes up some,
Yeah.
right? So, okay, realizing that, okay, with the way that I'm doing my business, it's not door to door candle sales. But if we were to really drill down to the base, yes, I am selling something, right? I am exchanging money for a thing. In your case, it's a service, not a candle. And yes, people are coming to you because they are already interested. They're not doing the door to door. So, right, there are some differences, but there was this block that was connecting to this
Yes.
old core experience still. And since, we had originally talked about this a few weeks ago, where's your process with this now? Where do you sit
Mm.
with the experience of selling or exchanging services for money now? How does that sit for you?
Thank you for that question. Yes, things have definitely shifted in the last 2 weeks. I have a lot of people I am supporting right now with hypnotherapy, with coaching. There's actually been an influx because I was able to address it's called the gestalt like in therapy like, right, so it's really like the root cause. It's the first time something happened and then it kind of formed this, I like to say, like a snowball. If
Mhm,
any of you watching this or listening to this uh knows what snow is. I'm in Texas, South Texas. Most people don't, so it's hard to use this analogy with locals, but most everybody knows snow. So you think about like a tiny little snowball. So that's like
mhm,
the first time something happened. So for me it was, oh, I'm not good at selling, I'm bothering people, right? And then what happens is any other time that's closely connected to this situation, it gets bigger and bigger. The snowball gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So what happens is when I'm 33 years old, and so I was responding out of the 7, 8 year old instead of the 33-year-olds because I was touching on a gestalt, a root cause, something really big. So I had to address the root cause, the gestalts, and I had to clear
yeah,
it. And I was able to do that with just the tools that I've learned that I help people with. So I was able to look for the learning. I knew the subconscious mind needed a learning that could protect it and support me in the future should I ever need it to. And I use that as a new belief. And when I was close to sleep, which is when you're closer to the subconscious mind, I gave it a new belief. I said,
mm,
no, selling is sacred.
mm,
Selling
mhm,
is sacred. And I think there was something else I said. It's not coming to me right now, but it was just like I'm serving, I'm helping people. And
mhm,
this is sacred.
mhm,
And I was able to tell that little girl, like, it's okay. You were selling
mhm,
stuff to people, right? Like they didn't need that. And they
mhm,
had 10 other kids come to their door that week, right? And maybe they bought from one other kid. Like, it didn't mean anything about you. If you really have something you can support somebody with, there's nothing to feel bad about.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very healing, and it has shifted massively already in my life. And I've started to show up, and people have started to show up and come
Mhm.
find me energetically. I cleared it up.
It happens. So much of money work is actually this inner child work. There's this young part of us that hasn't had a chance to develop. That's in my framework how I see it. There's a part that is stuck in a bit of a time capsule. And it needs just a little bit of compassionate talk. Oh, I understand how you associated A and B, but just so you know, like that was that context. And let me update you a bit. Guess what? I'm the grown up in the room now. You need a grown up. You're not the grown up. It's okay. You can be a kid.
Hmm.
And it just sounds like this really gentle reparenting
Yeah,
of understanding the situation, understanding that there's nuance, a lot of forgiveness for
absolutely.
that young part of you, right? And now, okay, the stuff that I know cognitively, more top of mind, consciously, giving some space for that to filter through to the subconscious. This is now a new belief. And I love this idea of kind of running it in that sleep state or like that pre-sleep state. I haven't done that
Yes.
before.
Yeah. I'm not sure. You're probably familiar with the brainwave states, Rachel, just
I'm
with your
actually
studies.
surprisingly not. We
Okay.
didn't learn about that in grad
I would
school.
love to briefly share, because also this
Do
can
it.
help the audience.
I would
So
love
right now, more than likely, all of us listening to this, and you and I, Rachel, we are using the beta brainwave state.
it. Mhm.
So if you were to look, the waves would be pretty active, and you could see like very high waves. You could look this up right now: beta, alpha, theta, delta brainwaves. And this is just a very awake, aware, focused state.
Mhm.
We're having a conversation. Here we are. Now, if I was to start to direct all of us to just be a little bit more inward, and maybe, obviously, if you're driving, don't do this, but just like close your eyes, maybe just tune into your breath, maybe just notice your heartbeat, just becoming more aware and present to this current moment, and
Mhm.
maybe some sensations you're feeling. And just taking some deep breaths, we would start to go into an alpha brainwave state. And that is where meditation is. That's the brainwave state of more relaxation and, just slowing things down a bit. Now, theta would be next. So if I was to continue on with this impromptu meditation and I was to make it a full on hypnosis session, I would have some deepeners. I would instruct us to just relax our entire body. We'd be with this for about 10, 15 minutes, and the brain waves would be heading to that theta. And theta is that gateway from the conscious to the subconscious mind. And now, hypnosis is something that everyone can experience, because everyone experiences these brainwave states at least twice a day.
Mhm.
Because as you are heading off to bed each night, you're activated up in that beta, and then you start getting more sleepy, more relaxed. Maybe you're reading a book or journaling and you're in that alpha, and then you're like, all right, time for bed. You're in that theta. It's kind of that almost dream world. And
Mhm.
then delta is that deep sleep. So
Oh,
then
okay.
deep sleep, and then when you wake up every single day, you come back through. So you wake up, deep
Oh, and then
sleep,
it
delta,
reverses.
and it reverses back up, right? And so,
That's so cool. I didn't know that.
yeah, so hypnotherapy is just guiding people through those brainwave states and to access that theta, because hypnotherapy is not sleeping. It's not
No.
sleep. You're not knocked out. You're just very focused and relaxed. It's kind of like when you're in a daydream and maybe you're like staring off in the corner and someone's talking to you and you're so focused on just some random thing. You're like, hold on, hold on. And you come back. You were in a trance. So
Mhm.
hypnotherapy uses a trance. I kind of forgot why we got onto the beta brainwaves. I love talking about this.
Because I was asking about like, okay, you kind of identified this new script and then
Yes.
actively use, right, the awakening or the information came to you in theta state, and then you're like, okay, then I'm going to rewrite the script and use the theta state to
Yes.
rewrite this script.
Absolutely. I
Mhm.
highly recommend, if you're interested in rewiring, reprogramming some beliefs, and maybe you are not ready to invest in hypnotherapy or you can't, creating your own recordings of some affirmations, rewiring some beliefs, and listening to it as you're about to fall asleep. Something that I've done. And I also create recordings for clients that are specific for them. And it helps them rewire and reprogram. And that repetition can also get into the subconscious and create a new neural pathway. And that's really what it all is. And so for me, just understanding this work, I used that for my benefit and was able to shift it. Yeah, it's some really powerful stuff.
That's really cool. So you've experienced, so you had first sort of like this download. It sounds like first you had awareness, like, okay, what the hell? Like, I
Where's
know
this coming from?
And also like, yeah, like I shouldn't have that. Why do I have this blog? Like this doesn't make sense. And that's like this first step, right? This awareness of the problem. And then in your beautiful process of like, okay, if it's going to come to me, it's going to come to me. And it did. It sounds like probably reliably for you. And it came this memory of selling the candles. Yeah. And they're like, okay, wow. And then you obviously dreamed on it. and then the next day really, or the next
journaled about it.
Yeah. You journal about it. That was like,
researched about it.
Yeah. And then, okay. And then you use that process to connect with that memory as if it is right now, right? The person in that memory, that little girl.
And I did it disassociated. So I did it as if I was looking at it as a movie, like in my mind's eye. So I saw her like little me, little Lexi, instead of looking through my own eyes. That's really important because if you look through your own eyes in memories, that's where you relive some of that trauma.
Yeah. That's a really important point. Yeah. And it's so tied into IFS, internal family systems, which is definitely a hypnostate as well. And yes, it is you in your true self state is relating to these parts. And it's so essential that you are in your current state relating to the parts and not identifying as them. That's called blending. So yeah. So, and it's often a reparenting of those parts that's going on. Yeah.
Oh, I love that blending.
Yeah. And they go a little bit like, okay, nope, actually we're separate.
Yeah.
We're in their space together for sure, but we're not the same. And some parts want to over-identify. So yeah, no, you're there. I'm here. It's that sort of like sovereignty and we're working together and I'm going to give you the things that you needed at that moment. And I'm going to give it to you now. I'm going to be my own best parent. I'm going to be the parent I always needed.
Yeah.
Right? That's so reparative to reparent yourself. Like this is the stuff that, in that moment, maybe your parents couldn't give you or, and then this money association happened. So like, we're going to go back in time. I mean, time's a construct anyway. It doesn't matter how long ago this happened. It doesn't matter. You can go right back as if it's right now, but not in a trauma state, just like you said, but in a loving reparative state. It's amazing. It really works, people. It really works.
Yeah. So maybe you have some kind of money block or something right now, and you just ask yourself this question. Why am I experiencing this? Why does this keep showing up for me? Where does this come from? What is the root cause of this? Something like that, right? Just wait for the answer to come. It might come in the shower. That's another place. It's where you have like this least amount of resistance and expectation. And yeah, maybe it'll come to you as you're about to sleep.
Guess what? I have a pad of waterproof paper.
That's brilliant. I got to do that. Please link that.
I will. I think it's called, what is it called? Shower Love Notes. And
oh my gosh.
It's so good. And there's a waterproof pencil. Because I will just like get the best ideas there or whatever. And yeah, it's so funny. And you think about, I didn't ever thought about like, yeah, you're just there. It's kind of a trance state, right? You're just checking in with yourself. You've got the sensory experience, all of that. No wonder that's when we open up. Also when we're walking. Which is like that bilateral stimulation. Like, yeah. And I would say like, why am I experiencing this? And if you get some intuitive hit, right? Some memory or some flash or some color or some animal.
Yes.
It's never wrong because it is the subconscious and also sometimes like the right side of your brain that has all of this wisdom and knowledge that is not verbal.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, it's always right in some way. And whether or not like what to do with that memory, then that's a great thing to take to, to a therapist or to a hypnotherapist and or just journal and process it and really acknowledge that even if it seems whack, there's something there. There really is something there, just like you chased that trail and it really led you to the thing that you needed to heal. And that you brought it into conversation, which also helped the whole conversation develop. And other folks are like, oh my God, yeah, me too. And Girl Scout cookies. And the whole thing is we're unpacking these.
And then allowances, right? Even talking
Oh,
about
we talked
that,
about
like how that
allowances.
affected things. And
Right? Who got allowances? Who didn't get allowances? Was it conditional? Was it not conditional? Right? And we just started unpacking these amazing, varied stories of how, like, oh yeah, that was an early money lesson I learned that is still playing out today. And when we share it, especially with other kind adults, not our parents, or like, people who can have these like new healing relationships and new healing dialogues, it really can get moved through, because it's that little part of us that needed the adult to step in that way. And then we can do that for ourselves.
absolutely. Yeah, this stuff just goes quite deep, just speaking on the allowances thing where we talked about the Money Healing Club. And I remember my mom would just give me money just because, right? It was like, oh yeah. And every once in a while, if she really wanted something done, she'd be like, okay, go do this and I'll give you extra money. I was like, okay, yes. But my dad, it was like I had to perform to receive money. And so that's something I've been working on rewiring, is that believing that while I'm on vacation, consultation calls can come and people can book things. Like I don't have to always be working to receive money. I can receive money in other ways. And because that's what was instilled in me, is you have to work to make money.
I know allowances are really interesting. And also being a parent now, and like, okay, how am I creating an environment for my children to learn about money, make their own mistakes? And like, I have my own opinions about it. Yeah, we do an allowance that is sort of theirs no matter what. Even if they're in trouble, they always get their allowance. They make their own decisions with it, and we facilitate that. And so far so good, but it's also like a work in progress, And as they get older, right, okay, well then can they earn more? And like our decision of like, okay, what do we expect of them to do at home that is just, I say, like, that's your rent, dude, like you live here for free. Or like, what's okay, no, if you do go mow the lawn, like that's worth a little extra. But then wow, my determination of that is really teaching them huge lessons for them to take forward. Oh, it's wild to think about. Also, like, this is the work I do, right? So
it's like, what did you learn about money as a child? Right? Are you learning that it's hard to make? Is it easy to make? Is it like, what emotions are coming up from it?
It's is it conflict? That's often when I'm working with adults who have blocks around money, that money was a source of conflict growing up. And so money equals conflict, right? And so that's that script where it's like, no, there was conflict and there was money. It just happened to be there, right? Money didn't necessarily cause the conflict. Like the people caused the conflict. And that is some like adult level nuance to take apart, but that we can really love our inner children through updating that information. And then they can go be children.
Yeah.
What do you feel is next for you in this like, the last few weeks of really having a different feeling around selling?
So what I feel is next for me. So right now I'm working at a hypnotherapy clinic, and I also still have my own business, and I am helping people who need some personalized individual one-on-one support, because it's very, specific to them, to their beliefs, to their identity, to the things that happen to them in their childhood, the things that happen to them in their life. But there's this desire for me to create a group program that can support people at different financial budgets, and also my own like membership, because I absolutely love Rachel's membership. I've been wanting to do a membership for about 3 months now, but I'm like, I need to be in one first so I understand what it's like. And so when this was presented to me with Rachel's Money Healing Club, I was like, oh my God, this looks amazing. Just like the platform, how it's set up. I just love like the psychology of how she has these things, and just like the community. And yeah, there's layers to money healing. This is ancestral for me. This goes deeper than just me. So I'm like, I could definitely use a boost in some money healing. There's some layers I've healed, and there's some other areas that I want to boost. So yeah, like having a membership, having a group program to support people. So selling to many people at different budgets, different price points. Because I remember, 5 years ago when I was newer in my business and I really needed some support, but I couldn't afford the one-on-one care.
Right. And that was such a mission to create this thing where I saw all of these, money coaching programs like deep into the 5 figures,
Wow.
which just feels kind of against the whole process of healing.
Right.
And it's not about people charging a high ticket for their services. There's a time and a place for that, absolutely. But for the
Absolutely.
folks that I wanted to help and the folks I felt like really needed this, like, well, yeah, they're in a place where they don't have a lot of spare cash. So I love that. Oh, I love that you want to make a membership. Like, it's so fun being on the receiving side of membership. I do think it makes like a really good member on the other side,
Ah,
creating
that
a
is
good membership.
beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this was a wonderful conversation. Thank you for just sharing your process, teaching us about the brain states. I love that. I love like not only understanding the brain states, but then how we can use that knowledge to do some rewiring. And just explaining your hypnotherapy process and then your own personal example of how you can get from A to B to C with some of these blocks, with some of these much more subtle things. And like I always say, it's just this money stuff has nothing to do with numbers. It's
Yes,
this stuff.
exactly.
Yeah. And then you can get to the numbers, right? Then, okay, this block is cleared. Now I can do the spreadsheet or the app or do something more practical. And I think a lot of us have it reversed. But
Yes.
I think there are really good things coming up for you. And I so appreciate you sharing your
Yes.
story with us.
Thank you so much. It was really beautiful to be invited to have this conversation from this breakthrough and just sharing with your audience, sharing with them, like you said, it's not about the numbers. It goes deeper. And this is stuff that's in the subconscious. The subconscious mind picks everything up before the age of 7. And it's always picking things up even after then. But being able to get in there and reprogram is so important. And if you're even curious about things outside of money, hypnotherapy can help with so many things.
Yeah.
And so if you're interested to learn more, I would love to offer a free consultation call. So just reach out to me. You can reach out to me at my email. It's hypnotherapywithlexi@gmail.com.
I'm a huge hypnotherapy convert and believer on the other side of the chair. So I fully endorse it. This is great, Lexi. Well, I will see you in the club. Thank you so much for sharing your
Thank
story.
you so much. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Money Healing Club podcast. You can find resources and links from this episode in the show notes at moneyhealingclub.com/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, you'd probably really love my free email course on curbing impulse spending with compassion and mindfulness. Check it out at moneyhealingclub.com/challenge. Do you have a question about how financial therapy might help you? Leave me a voicemail at moneyhealingclub.com/podcast and I might answer your question in a future episode of the pod. We are in this together and I really appreciate it.